My friends, I am Vivian McPeak, and this is Hemp Present. If you have feedback or would like to suggest a guest or topic for Hemp Present, email me at hempresent@gmail.com. Today's guest carries forward one of reggae's most powerful cultural and musical legacies. Niambe McIntosh is the youngest child of reggae legend Peter Tosh, and she serves as the chairperson of the board for the Peter Tosh Foundation, as well as the head of the Peter Tosh estate and brand. Born in Kingston, Jamaica, and raised in Boston, Massachusetts, she holds a bachelor's degree in engineering and began her professional life in that field before following her passion for education. She taught mathematics and special education in the Boston public school system, where she developed a deep commitment to youth empowerment and community engagement. Through her work in music, culture preservation, and cannabis advocacy, Niambe continues to amplify the spirit of resistance and empowerment that defines the Tosh name. But don't take my word for it. She's here to tell us about all of it. Welcome back, Niambe, to Hemp Present.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. You know, this interview is being conducted during Black History Month at a time when there is a national systematic effort to erase Black history. And 2026 marks the 50th anniversary of Legalize It, your father, Peter Tosh's landmark debut solo album. Legalize It was a radical statement in 1976. How do you feel its message about cannabis and personal freedom resonates today, especially with the global legalization movement?
I think it's still very, very relevant, and although we have states that are fully legal, we still have a lot of states that aren't. We still have many people that are incarcerated. Even his home country of Jamaica, they've decriminalized it, but we're still not fully there yet. So the anthem, it still has been an anthem for so many people to continue that fight for full legalization.
The album also tackles themes of social justice, inequality, and political corruption. You are the chair of the Peter Tosh Foundation. How are you, the foundation, and the Peter Tosh estate working to ensure that the album's spirit and messages are celebrated and introduced to a new generation? What is this, a half century after its release?
Yeah, well, we celebrate the legacy annually. That's one thing that's really important. We do have International Peter Tosh Day. We have just hijacked as 420. We said, you know what, it's time that we claim a spot on the calendar for my father's advocacy. And over the years, we've partnered with various nonprofits to amplify the message. Last Prisoner Project, Minorities for Medical Marijuana, just to make sure that his legacy continues to reach new audiences. And also we have a reggae festival in October for my father's Earth Strong. This is the terminology that we use in Rastafari culture, better known as its birthday, just to continue to make sure that we bridge that gap and using new artists on the platform to spread their music that's been inspired by him.
Musically, Legalize It blended roots reggae with rock and soul elements. Do you see that same fusion happening in today's reggae or global music scenes? And what are your thoughts on the album's impact on artists across multiple genres who've been influenced by your father's music and message?
I'm always very humbled by the amount of musicians on a global scale. I've had people that don't even speak English come up to me. I've had, all different genres, hip hop artists from, soul artists, really be so happy to meet me and to let me know how my father's music has impacted them, as it has been like at the fabric of kind of what they are out there creating and spreading. So it's very, very relevant, and a lot of times we travel the world and see just a lot of different people that are excited and continue to see the legacy grow and expand from the work that we're doing.
I mean, there's really a timeless element to it. Do you agree?
Oh, definitely. Definitely timeless. Songs like, Equal Rights and Justice, or even a song like Legalize It. As we look across the globe, and I'm based in Massachusetts, and Massachusetts is attempting to reverse legalization. So it's
Yeah.
been, and so, it's still very, very relevant. And as long as anyone is incarcerated in this world where, for cannabis, the song still will continue to have a place.
I mean, it feels, as a 30 plus year cannabis activist myself, and a social justice activist, it feels like all the work that we ever did might have just amount to a dry run for what we're experiencing today. We're living through a time of national chaos and injustice that can really only be confronted on the community level. Can you talk more about how you're preserving your father's legacy and even expanding it through community-centered work? What kind of work are you doing?
As of late, we have put all hands on deck to support Jamaica. Many people don't know that on October 27th of last year, Jamaica suffered a Category 5 hurricane, and that devastated a lot of the country, and particularly my father's hometown of Belmont Bluefields, where it's a small seaside town and 50% of the homes were completely demolished. So we have, galvanized supporters from all over the world to help us focus on rebuilding efforts, to just help rebuild people and get them, back to normal lives. They still don't have electricity, still don't have running water. So that's really where a lot of our focus has been with community work.
Um, was there a personal cost to your father's activism and carrying forward your father's message through your work? Are there lessons from Black freedom movements in the past that guide your activism and artistic expression?
I could say that my father's music and his spirit, I'm someone who's very spiritual and feel like my father continues to communicate with me from the other side. Um, a lot of people see people like Bob Marley and my dad and feel like Rastafari must be celebrated back in Jamaica, when in fact Rastafarians were targeted at the time when the song "What Legalize It" was released. It actually was banned on the radio in Jamaica, and a lot of the culture was not accepted because Jamaica is pretty much a Christian country. And so my father had suffered police brutality. Police brutality. He's often targeted by the police. And so when people hear a song like "Legalize It" and think that it was very easy for him to stand up and sing that song wherever he went, it was actually the complete opposite. He did suffer. He did fight, and that was a fight for what he believed in. It wasn't an easy fight. And so, with that same spirit, we continue to, you know, push for just awareness and education around the medicinal spiritual benefits, but also the history of legalization and how it is that, in some spaces like California or maybe in New York, where people are just kind of comfortably consuming, it wasn't always that easy. And it was people like my dad that really sacrificed to push the message and the legislation forward through music.
Yeah, I think here in America, a lot of people see reggae music as this really positive, upbeat, force of music for social change. But it was actually there. Your father was a revolutionary. Am I right? I mean, to some degree.
No, definitely, definitely. Like I said, Legalize It was banned on the Jamaican radio stations. I was told that there was a time when the police came down and told him to like get rid of all of the music that he had, like got rid of the album and had to like dispose of them. So it wasn't this easy fight. He was a man before his time, and a lot of his music was was served the purpose of educating people around the things that a lot of where there was a lot of inequity and inequality.
Yeah. Your father, Bob Marley, your father, Peter Tosh. I mean, they're legendary. They're like mythic figures. Um, but your father was a man, and he's your father. And how is it for you? Well, first of all, how do you balance honoring your father's legacy with also forging your own independent path? And what is it like to be the daughter of somebody who's kind of has this legendary, like, bigger than life status?
Um, I can say that one of the things that my father and I share is that we're both educators. And so it just my path kind of just ended up here where it works out perfectly, where his platform has always been used as a tool to educate and uplift people. And it's actually the reason why I went into education. Like, I happen to be good at math, so I taught math, but I love the opportunities to, show young people a documentary and educate them about the things that they weren't necessarily being educated about in school. So, um, taking over, kind of leading the charge in the foundation, allows me to play that same role. We do have programs for young people. I've done some workshops in colleges. I've done some workshops in high schools, and we continue to build out different workshops that can educate people about um, what's going on in the world today.
You mentioned Jamaica. What is Peter Tosh Town, and how does it fit into the mission of the Peter Tosh Foundation's work? What is the mission, and what is Peter Tosh Town?
Yeah, Peter Tosh Town actually is my dad's hometown, and so before the storm, we were very um, intentional about working with the local community members there to partner and utilize the legacy to help uplift the community and create economic opportunity. And so we have since branded the town Peter Tosh Town and really put it on the map. It's heaven on earth, honestly. I don't have any other way to describe it. So my father's mausoleum is there. It's his childhood home. My his mother's house, although very much impacted by the hurricane, it's lost its roof, but there's a lot of historical value there. And so working with local community members to just bring economic opportunity, cultural opportunity, and have the world be able to come to this beautiful place, and celebrate the legacy there. So Peter Tosh Town is a landmark now in Jamaica.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty impressive. Um, Niambe, we're witnessing a shocking advance or return, if you will, of white nationalist hate and rhetoric that never really left, but was until recently kind of hiding in the shadows. How do you see reggae music functioning today as both a historical record, and also as a tool for ongoing social justice within the global Black diaspora?
I have always seen music as a tool to unite us. That's one thing that I think it has that powerful kind of gravity where it can inspire people to, as my father said, people will dance to their own awakening. With all that's going on in the world, as you say, it's been a return of kind of Black nationalists. The truth is, it's this is what it's been, and it's only now that other people are able to see it. But when you are of the global majority, someone that's Black or even not white, you this is not something that's new for us. But music, I think, has been the unifier throughout time. Music can educate people, and it's almost like a gateway into educating. And I think through education is where the unification comes and where the fight continues. That's where people can become educated to then be inspired to then have change. And music has always been that tool.
Um, I was the director of the world's largest annual cannabis reform event, at least for maybe 15 or 20 years. It was that, Seattle Hemp Fest, for close to
Nice.
three decades. Um,
Hmm.
what's been your experience advocating for cannabis reform, especially as attitudes and laws continue to evolve worldwide? And was there any event that inspired you to personally pick up the cause of cannabis justice and reform, in the path of your father?
Yeah. Growing up around cannabis was always just very normal. For me, brothers that consume, it was just family members. When you follow the Rastafari faith, it didn't it was just kind of what was normal for us. It wasn't until 2017, well, actually 2013, when my brother was arrested for cannabis possession. And unfortunately, it was in New Jersey, and we thought this would be something that would, just kind of get pushed behind us. And unfortunately, when we went to the hearing, he was facing 20 years. Now, this is a man who has never been involved with the criminal justice system. His father of four, follower of Rastafari, and a musician, better known as Tosh One, but his name is Jawara. And we were kind of shocked. So we were torn between like really pushing for what we believed in and fighting a system, um, kind of from our stance, but then, doing some research to understand that New Jersey has some of the highest um, kind of incarceration rates around, um, around drug policies and things of that nature. And we didn't want to sacrifice my brother in fighting that fight. So he accepted a plea after a few years and turned himself in 2016 to then, well, the beginning of 2017 to then a month later be attacked by another inmate and suffer a traumatic brain injury. And when I went to go visit him, we were told that we weren't allowed to visit him. He was a ward of the state. He was fighting for his life. And finally, I think because of our name sake, they were like, okay, well, you all are allowed, but just know that this is not something we normally do. And we walked into the hospital room and my brother had tubes up his throat. He had half of his lock shaved off from surgeries trying to save his life. And he had a handcuff around his ankle. And that moment I instantly knew that I was on a path to let people know that no one should be incarcerated for cannabis. No one should have this type of risk in their lives. And I remember my brother prior to that sharing that he was kind of in jail with a 17-year-old, over that couldn't make bail over one joint. And that kid was in there for months. And, this is a waste of resources and it does more harm than it does good. And so all of us know that weed has never really hurt anybody, and that's the moment that I really had to just I quit teaching at that time and spent my time not only caring for him medically and advocating to get out the hospital and to get him home and to get him as much care as we could, um, but also had to share his story. And that's when we spoke back in 2021. um, he had passed actually in 2020, and it was just kind of devastating for the family. But it was that was the moment really that put me on that path um, to continue to fight because we weren't really that close to the criminal justice system. No one had ever been arrested in our family in that regard. So it was something that I had no idea how bad it really was.
Um, yeah, I mean, it feels like we made some amazing strides, and now we're seeing efforts to reverse the successes that we've had in the cannabis reform movement.
Yeah.
But it's not just that. We're seeing efforts to reverse virtually everything. I mean, social
Yes.
justice achievements and civil rights achievements of the
Yep.
last 150 years or more. It's a shocking time, and I'm just wondering, are there lessons you think from Jamaica's history of resistance that you think are especially important for Americans to understand as we face this kind of wave of injustice today?
I think it's really important from a spiritual aspect, to believe in us, believe that good will win and prevail.
Right.
There's a lot of when we tap into the news where it's a incessant amount of bad news, we lose sight of the people that are making change, the people that are winning the battles that maybe they're not as big, but those are the stories that we really need to help continue to face tomorrow. And so I cannot watch the news personally because I stay focused on what is within my control. And when we tap into really where do we have control to make change, where do we have control to galvanize and unite instead of just kind of watching all of the bad news, what is actually within our power to make change? And so leaning into that is where we will find our power and where we will find change actually happening.
Yeah, I mean that's a very powerful statement, and I think that where we have the most power is in our community, right? And that's why community-based work and community-based activism and advocacy is so important, and because that's where we can actually make a change. Do you agree?
Agreed. I totally agree. It's like, what can we do in our backyard? And what can we do with our neighbors? What can we do with the people that are surrounding and around us? And with that power is where we can, I agree, make the most change.
And we're seeing a lot of a renewed push, an incredible mobilization happening across the country in communities right now. And you might not read about it and you might not see it on the news, but people have to understand it's happening because
Hmm.
it's the hope that inspired your father and his comrades, and it's that same hope that's going to inspire us now. Personally, as a Black woman carrying such a powerful legacy, what unique challenges and strengths have shaped your journey, and have you experienced what you think are unique obstacles, unique to maybe a Black American or a woman?
I mean, not only do we have the foundation, but we also, it's a legacy that we are upholding. And that is on both sides. It's the business side and it's the foundation side. And so and I'm the youngest of 10. So there's just as far as just looking back to fix, the things that we feel like don't make sense economically of what was done with my father's musical catalog, learning the business of music because that's not my background, and kind of learning all of the different spaces in which we can kind of show up to have impact has been a journey in and of itself. And being a Black woman, there aren't a lot of people that are doing what I do. It's a very, very unique experience that I have and kind of carrying on a legacy, taking care of family, finding that balance, to also then do the philanthropic work as well. Um, but it's something that I'm so proud to have the opportunity to be able to do. Being a Black woman, I feel like I can do anything. So I step up to the challenge and I'm not intimidated by all of the craziness that we have in the world. I stay where I can focus on just having impact um and try not to be consumed or overly consumed by everything that seemingly is weighing us down, and find the spaces and the communities that I'm able to be elevated in and able to find that energy to continue to push for the good fight.
Yeah, 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 you said it well. Kind of riffing on that, uh, and not to put you on the spot, but Black History Month often highlights well-known leaders. Are there any lesser-known Black voices, past or present, that inspire you? And of course, we just lost the Reverend Jesse Jackson just this week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm constantly learning about myself, learning about different Black leaders, now diving into some of the African leaders. We I probably couldn't think of one person in particular
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Sorry to
at
put you on
this.
the spot
No,
like
no
that.
worries. No, it's perfectly fine. Um, yeah, I definitely couldn't think of just like one person in particular. I
Sure.
find myself on this continuation of just like learning so much more because unfortunately, history is history And for some reason, people decided to take certain stories out of that. And Black history is history. It's world history. African history is part of the evolution of humanity. And so I have been learning about some African leaders. And a couple years ago, my dad received a national award in South Africa, and I was invited and flown in to receive that award amongst 40 other people. And it was all Black scientists, doctors, philanthropists, and that was like such a beautiful experience because it's not something that I get to experience here within this country. So honestly, there's probably too many people to
Right,
point out
right.
to think of that inspire me on a day-to-day basis.
How about music? I mean, reggae has long been a soundtrack for resistance, but I don't want to pigeonhole you because there's a lot of kinds of music. Are there any musical artists that excite you? I mean, who do you listen to these days?
Yeah, I am I listen to all genres of music, that I can definitely say, and have I can go from classic rock to to soul to everything. But lately it's been I've been immersed in reggae music, and it's a lot of the younger upcoming conscious artists that I gladly listen to, on it, artists like Chronix, Leela IK, Medicine, Yoxta, Rasai, there's Samurai. There's a lot of just like artists that are amazingly talented, and they're rising and bringing that more conscious reggae back to, I would say, get bringing it back to more, to the popularity, I'd say. It hasn't died at all, and it's so beautiful to see these younger artists continue to have that same fire spirit that my father did.
We've got about 3 minutes left. How would you like your father to be remembered? I mean, what do you think that people should know about your dad that they might not know because they've just got kind of a one-dimensional presentation of him?
I can say that Peter Tosh is multifaceted. Many people don't know that, as he would say, and as they would say, that they never really split when it came to the Wailers. There was always a brotherhood there, but he did want his music, the music that lived in him, to be at the forefront of what he did. And so that's when he went on to do his solo career. And so many people don't know he taught Bob Marley how to play the guitar. He was a black belt. He rode a unicycle, had an M16 guitar, would do martial arts on stage at times. And there was a popular concert where it was called the One Love Peace concert, and this was where a lot of the politicians at the time, both sides, were in the audience. And he and Bob Marley used that opportunity to sing about like one love and unite people. But my father took a very strong stance to highlight the injustice that was happening in the country. So when you think of a Peter Tosh, I do believe that a Peter Tosh lives in all of us, where we do want to say what needs to be said, no matter the audience. And that's that rebel spirit, that I believe Peter has, and that a lot of people have within them. And so the more that, I would say, for the listeners, do dive a little deep. Do your Peter Tosh deep dive. You'll learn so much, and I promise that you'll be inspired. It's a hell of a story.
Wow, that's the stuff that you can only get from Niambe. Um, Niambe, it's been such a pleasure having you back. You were on the show 5 years ago, and to have you back to talk about your work and this anniversary of your father's breakthrough album has just been spectacular. Thank you so much for letting us celebrate your work and your father's legacy.
Thank you. Thank you so much for celebrating with me. It's definitely appreciated.
Real quickly, how can people follow what you're doing?
Yes, thank you. So petertosh.com, Peter Tosh Foundation, .org, and then of course on all social media platforms at Peter Tosh.
Excellent. Thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
The Hip Present intro music is 7 Mile Beach by Joanne Rand, and the outro music is Take Back the Plant by Stickerbush. See you next time, folks. Stay strong.
Marijuana!